Get real, child. Let's get real.
How might we humans as a species work better with Mother Nature instead of against her? We must learn how, because rising CO2 levels now pose a real threat to our planet. And while scientists have used this data to sound the alarm on our current climate crisis, the rapid depletion of the Earth's resources is perhaps even more daunting. Often overlooked and undervalued, farmers are the nation's best offense to climate change, and also those left most vulnerable. They too recognize these threats and are sounding the alarm because they know what is required to adequately respond. One powerful solution that has emerged is biochar. Through the power of pyrolysis, we can transform various waste streams which would otherwise decay and oxidize back into the atmosphere and turn it into stable carbon instead. This process, in the right hands of farmers, ranchers, and foresters, could actually reverse CO2 levels in the air, enhance carbon drawdown, improve soil health, and increase farm wealth simultaneously. This makes biochar a comprehensive nexus solution towards environmental prosperity by converting biomass waste like dead trees, debris, invasive species, and major agricultural waste into everyday eco-friendly products. Right now, our world desperately needs a win-win-win solution. So let's build that biochar fire and get real.
Did you know that pre-Columbian tribes altered the carbon cycle by redesigning their soil over 2,500 years ago? And it's rewriting our history books today? Yep. Turns out there's a real mystery to uncover in the Amazon, and it starts with something called terra preta. Recent studies revealed that using a technique called slash and char, Amazonians created a rich black earth to remineralize their poor soils. But the baffling thing is the sheer size of it. Terra preta is at an average of 2 meters in depth, but it's estimated by some to cover an area that's twice the size of Great Britain. What? But here's the thing. They still don't know exactly how these soils were made. However, we do know it includes slash and charring biomass, pottery, human and agricultural waste into a stable charcoal, or biochar, that could hold nutrients for vibrant soil life. This ingenious technique transformed poor soils into prime agricultural lands that could have supported a thriving civilization, perhaps numbering in the millions. And not only is terra preta still there, but it's reported to mysteriously regenerate itself at a rate of 1 centimeter per year. So is one of man's greatest wonders of the world really buried in the Amazon rainforest? I mean, I do revere the Great Pyramid of Giza, but can it grow the fruits of paradise? Now back to you, David.
Biochar is biomass that has gone through the process of pyrolysis, meaning it has been burned at a low temperature in an oxygen-deficient environment. By burning the volatile carbohydrates and evaporating the water from plants, large amounts of pore space are created in the remaining fibrous structural material. Biochar works like coal in reverse, meaning nature mines the skies of CO2 by way of photosynthesis through diverse plants, trees, and even algae. We can then carbonize the waste of that biomass to make useful, eco-friendly carbon that's stable for millennia. Sounds too good to be true, but but it is for real. Biochar is a wondrous material that goes beyond orchards, fields, and forests into industrial products that will integrate into almost all sector of life, from paper goods to water and air filters to art supplies to carbon sequestering roads and buildings to fuel cell batteries. Pyrolysis provides modern man with an ancient tool to lock biomass into a longer, more stable, and profitable carbon cycle. As a soil supplement, biochar has no nutritional value by itself for plants, but when primed or activated with nutrients through composts, manures, and fertilizers that feed microbial life, biochar becomes an unsurpassed sponge of nutrients of soil life and in turn plant life. Why? Earth's elements are very attracted to magical carbon and like to bind to it, making them unlikely to leach away. Biochar's attractiveness and porous surface area also make it an excellent filter to remove harmful chemicals from water. As such, soils integrated with biochar along creeks, rivers, or coastline can soak up excess nutrients, leaching into waterways by filtering the water and absorbing fertilizer runoff, which create toxic algae and oxygen-deficient waters. This is significant because biochar could help rescue the United States dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico that measured 3,275 square miles in 2022, almost the size of Delaware and Rhode Island combined. This is why we must scale billions of tons of biochar for every ecoregion to boost soil health and prevent the loss of vital nutrients. Great green industries are ready to be built by making biochar from various agricultural waste streams like almond and peanut hulls, corn, cotton, and soy stalks, and from forest land clearing and roadside weeds that can counterbalance our carbon cycle on a landscape scale. Are you starting to see the big picture here with biochar? It gives us a pivotal tool to close our waste loops and turn the tide on climate change. This planetary potential is fantastic and limited only by funding. Unfortunately, many farmers who would love to adopt biochar are in a constant state of economic depression and unable to make long-term improvements that require annual upfront cash or loans from banks. It's ridiculous that most American farmers require outside income to be able to maintain their own farm. An unfortunate result is the average farm is a net carbon emitter. Sequestering carbon by pyrolyzing waste streams to keep dead biomass from oxidizing back into the air is a big, nuanced task, but it's more than possible. Right now, biochar is only used on a small scale, and current methods of making it at scale are expensive, requiring risk and investment. Societies can overcome those hurdles through major public and private capital investments that could fund large-scale projects employing various labor forces to regenerate the desolate regions of the western U.S., transforming the vast tons of dead wood in national forests into biochar. This national supply could be mixed with soils to regenerate the forest floor and transported to other areas for agriculture. Carbon sequestration from biochar production can also secure new revenue streams that work better with larger-sized farming operations and local co-ops. This retools modern agriculture to be more economical, ecological, and supported so that people can really thrive in rural areas. So how might this biochar tool work for us within a new farm model? The Get Real Alliance applauds current climate-smart commodity initiatives in America that could really invest in co-ops and in centralized biorefineries to utilize leftover crop residue. Cotton and corn stalks, nutshells, dead wood from forests can be transported to a local biorefinery near crop harvest collection points like grain elevators or rail storage depots. Once that biomass is processed into biochar, it can then be distributed back to the farms as a backhaul item and into the soils for direct carbon sequestration. Did you know suppliers are selling these verified carbon credits on the European markets today? Check out puro.earth to learn more. Biochar allows farmers to close the loop for agricultural waste, heals ecosystems, and makes circular economies. There's exciting scientific research constantly emerging in this field, and great organizations like the International and U.S. Biochar Initiative. Please check out the Get Real links included below to guide you on this wondrous X marks the spot material for a carbon-friendly future. Now, to share more on this positive pathway for climate restoration is seasoned farmer, biochar expert, manufacturer, supplier, and co-founder of 42 Biochar, Mr. Steve Groom. Steve, thanks for joining Get Real again and sharing some insights on the wonders of biochar.
Biochar alone does not promote plant growth. Biochar becomes a home in the soil for microorganisms, for air, water, and nutrients. Much in the same way that a coral reef provides a home for microorganisms and small fish, and if it wasn't for the small fish, there wouldn't be the big fish that creates the life in an ocean. Biochar does the same thing in the soil, providing a home for microorganisms that then feed the plants that feed us. On a private scale, people can produce biochar for themselves on a small basis. Burning in a fire pit, you can create your own biochar for your own home garden. To scale it to a commercial scale, energy production, taking and using biomass in a large pyrolysis electrical generation facility. These are all things that we can do to increase the amount of carbon that would be available to go back in the soil, and also for things like cement we can add biochar to. We can permanently lock carbon away in many forms, not just the soil. The USDA is waking up. There is a new program called Climate Smart Commodities, where the government is putting their money where their mouth is at. This program is not just a research, but is actual demonstration where they're funding the production of biochar, the use of biochar, and monitoring the results of this added carbon to the soils. Over the next 5 years, you're going to be hearing a lot more about carbon sequestration, and specifically through the use of biochar because of this Climate Smart Commodity program. One of the problems with biochar as a commercial venture is a new industry. There's a lot to be learned on how to produce it at a commercial scale. There's a lot to be learned about how we can harvest the excess energy from the production of biochar. It only takes about a third of the energy that is contained in biomass to heat it to create biochar, leaving 2/3 of that energy for other purposes. Biochar is a relatively new industry on the scene. The technology for burning wood has always been around for centuries. It's burning it in the absence of oxygen to sequester the carbon, which is the problem. 42 Biochar is working with a sawmill in northwestern Montana that is cutting edge. They are generating power for their sawmill through the burning of the waste wood from their sawmill process. They were wise enough and smart enough to design their cogeneration facility to limit the oxygen so it creates a biochar product. We are taking that product and marketing it into agricultural, industrial, and soil remediation areas. Carbon farming is the answer to numerous issues on the farm today. Being able to lock away carbon into the soil and sequestering CO2 in those methods, the pyrolysis units that could be mobile and move from farm to farm to be able to dispose of waste biomass, animal waste, and creating a home for microbiology in the soils and sequestering that CO2 away for centuries. Biochar is the answer for long-term carbon sequestration. We're going to be seeing biochar, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about biochar because it really is a miracle product. I'm excited about the future of biochar because it does so many things. It is an enhancement to the soil. It is a filtration system for water. It is a home for the microbiology that feeds plants and feeds us. The future of biochar is a future of us and our planet.
Get real.